Welcome back to the Bethel Park Historical Society. My name is Bill Habather, and it's been a while since we had our last show, and so I wanted to come today and show you all the remarkable changes, donations, and other things that have gone on over the past several months. Just because we haven't had a show doesn't mean we haven't been working diligently on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings and Saturday with an incredible group of volunteers that have given their time, their talent, and their energy to restore this 1905-1917 building back to its original footprint, turning it into a cultural center for our community. And as you can see, I'm standing next to a couple of crates and a rather large pallet. We were just given a wonderful gift from a family that resided in Bethel Park. These crates actually came from British Columbia, so they've traveled 2,200 miles. They just arrived yesterday, and a little later on in the show, we'll be unpacking them and showing you all the exciting things that have now taken, that are part of our collection here at the Bethel Park Historical Society. So why don't we get started taking a tour of the rooms? I think you'll be amazed at all the transformation. So here we are in the library of the Historical Society. One of the ways that we raise money toward our $1 million capital campaign to do all the renovations is to reach out to local businesses and families and asking them if they would like to buy the naming rights to the individual classrooms. So we're fortunate in that the Hollinshead family stepped up to the plate and sent a very generous check in to have this room named after their grandmother, Gertrude Hollinshead. She and her group of ladies friends at the book club were instrumental in starting the first public library in Bethel Township way back when, and it actually was in this building in the basement underneath the principal's room. So we chose this particular room, and we were fortunate in that actually my uncle, Bill Mercer, is a master carpenter, and he and his crew, Willie and Joe, built these bookcases. So this will house our collection of yearbooks dating back to the first Beacon yearbook in 1932 all the way up to the current 2017 yearbook. In addition, we're fortunate that we have many other items that will be on display here. So we're almost finished with the library. Obviously, the last thing we have to do is to stain the bookcase. And once we finish that, then we can put the yearbooks back in and other items that we want to display relating to the history of our community. One other thing I want to point out, if you look over my shoulder, if you remember from prior shows, there used to be a double set of doors that sort of blocked off this area. And in replacing some of the baseboards, we realized that the doorway was not original to the 1917 floor plan. So we actually took those down. It's helped greatly with the flow of traffic when we have several hundred people in the building. And we built out a framed archway to house the electrical wires of the fan, the lights, and the spotlights. And I just want to also point out that the spotlights are highlighting the beautiful artwork of John Del Monte. He is going to be 94 this year, and he is an artist in residence. He has a studio upstairs, and we're fortunate enough that he allows us to showcase his artwork here. I just want to highlight one of the interesting things that we recently had donated. It's actually a Squire's logbook. Betty Miller, who resides in Virginia, donated her grandfather's book, and it's a recording of people that had some minor infractions over the course of the years. And this actually is a receipt for a check for $300 for a gentleman that did some larceny. So he was fined by Squire Lime Pencil, and it was recorded in this book. So if you want to come in and see if any of your ancestors sort of may have broken the law, this is free to look at. So we're standing in one of the original classrooms of the 1905 building. It looks a little bit different from one of our prior shows when it was filled with art from John Del Monte's studio. John graciously moved to the second floor, so we were able to sell the naming rights to this room and therefore able to do the renovations. So I had reached out to the local chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, our own Bethel Fife and Drum, and I wanted to see if they would be interested in donating a flag and perhaps a flagpole for the front of our building. So I met with a group of the women, and they were so excited about the building and what we were doing at the Historical Society, and we both came to the conclusion that the synergies between our two entities was really incredible. So through a bunch of meetings, fundraisings, the women actually came back and presented us with a $10,000 check to do the renovations, and therefore to have this classroom named for the Bethel Fife and Drum chapter of the National Daughters of the American Revolution. So they are having their first meeting here in the next couple of weeks. They're doing a grand opening on October 20th. And so we're really excited to have them in the building to work with them in the future about learning and researching the history of Bethel Park. As you can see, we're still in the final throes of renovations. We just have to finish the ceiling, actually the beam in the ceiling. We realized that the beam was added probably when they added the addition in 1917. Underneath this wood is an I-beam made out of steel that helps support the back wall of the original 1905 building. It was clad in 1917 floorboards, which are about 1.5 inches made out of yellow pine, as opposed to the 113-year-old floor that we're standing on, which is maple. So even though this room is named after the Bethel Fife and Drum, it will become a public space for the Bethel Park Historical Society. And as you may or may not be aware, we're now at the point in time where we could utilize this building as a venue for residents to rent out, whether it be for a baby shower, a bridal shower, or class reunions. I was fortunate enough to have my 40th high school reunion here. We rented out the entire first floor. We had a couple hundred people of my classmates here, and we were able to go through our collection of yearbooks, take a walk down memory lane. We utilized this room as sort of a theater. We had stadium-style chairs set up, and we had gathered probably 18 years worth of slides from first grade all the way up to our senior year. So we had a continual slideshow of 350 photographs showing. People could come in, sit down, watch the slideshow, use another room. It was BYOB and potluck, so we had a ton of food here. We had dancing in one of the other classrooms, so it really was a fun night. 2 weeks ago, the class of 1976 held their 60th birthday party here. So I guess my point is, for any of those classes that are looking for a unique space to rent for their upcoming reunions, we more than welcome the opportunity to show you the space and see if you would like to have your reunions here. So here we are on the second floor of the Bethel Park Historical Society's building. In 1905, this actually was one large room utilized not only as two separate classrooms, but also as an auditorium. There used to be a curtain that drew across the middle of the room. Currently, there's a wall that's built here. There's a tenant in the room next door, and once we move him into another renovated space, we're going to tear this wall down and restore it back to its 1905 footprint, and this will be used as our auditorium. So when we have guest lecturers come in, there will be stadium-style chairs lined up in rows, and so we can have lectures in here. Right now, this room is being renovated currently, and it's through the generosity of the Bethel Park Community Foundation. So what we've done here is we've taken down some missing chalkboards. There was some water damage underneath all of the windows because of the ill-fitting windows. Now that we've replaced the windows, we can repair the plaster. So what you see are the original lath, and there was plaster on top. So we'll cheat a little bit and put drywall on and smooth out all the walls. The ceiling above me is the original 1905 tin ceiling. As you can see, we're missing a couple of panels. Some of the ceiling has fallen down due to a leak in the roof about 20 years ago that it was never repaired. So again, what we'll do is we'll pull the tin ceiling down, drywall, and then if we're able to restore the tin, we'll replace that. Kind of thinking that we may be able to find some replacement tin tiles to make it look as authentic as possible. I'm standing next to a mannequin that is wearing the 1978 graduation gown from my class. One of the things that we like to do is if a class is having a reunion and renting out the facility, we like to pull things from our collection to kind of personalize the space. So when the class of 1978 had its reunion this past June, we took this mannequin, donned on the cap and gown, the tassel, and as you can see, there's the little gold ring on the tassel that says 1978. So again, if anybody's interested in renting out the venue for their class reunion, we'll pull from our collection to see if we can tailor your yearbook and other items to personalize your event. Well, here we are still on the second floor, and currently we're in a room that's undergoing some renovations. And it kind of looks unfinished because it is. Unfortunately, we ran out of money. We don't have the sponsorship for what should be 2 classrooms. Ideally, what we'll do is we'll put the wall back up, continue to restore the ceiling, paint, and refinish the floors. Right now, this is sort of our warehouse, if you will, of all of our items that will eventually, as we finish renovations, be dispersed throughout the building, creating unique vignettes of the history of our community. As you can see over my shoulder is our collection of yearbooks that will go down into our library. There are football uniforms, cheerleading uniforms, wrestling uniforms, swim team. All will be proudly displayed on mannequins throughout the building. So if anybody is interested not only in volunteering their time on Tuesday and Thursday evening from 5:30 to 8 o'clock, or on Saturdays from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock to come in, meet a great group of people, get your hands dirty, and do any of the many renovation projects that we have at Task, or if anybody is interested in donating money to have a room named after their family, we're willing to entertain those people. And we thank you for your support and your continued support. Because we are a nonprofit entity, we only can do what we're doing through the generosity of friends of the Historical Society, through residents of our community, through local businesses. So we're always willing to entertain any suggestions, to take any items that you may deem worthy to be in our collection, or again, just if people want to come in and help us with all of our work. So we've got a lot on our plate this fall. One of the things I want to do later on is to sort of give you a highlight of the events that we have coming up on our calendar. So we welcome people to come in and participate and really get a sense of their community by coming in and learning about the history of their community. So we haven't been in this room previously. It was rented by a tenant who retired and left us at the end of May. So we're now starting the process of renovating the room. We're fortunate in that Betty Miller from Virginia, and it was her grandfather's World War I uniform that we had looked at previously, donated $10,000 to have this room named after the Hoff and Lime-Pencil families. And that affords us the ability to come in and do all the renovations that are necessary to make this room back to the way it was in 1917. Currently, what we use this space for, it's a co-op space, so local artists rent out the space to teach painting classes and other art projects. So over the next couple of months, you'll see some changes in this room as we take down the tile ceiling, redo the electrical, redo the ceiling. We haven't decided whether or not we're removing the pegboard yet, because it's kind of interesting to be able to hang some of the artwork up. Currently, it's showcasing photographs of Bethel Park's history. So one of the things I wanted to point out in this room, we're currently using it as a place to display all those who have contributed to our Pave the Way campaign. As you know, R.I. Lampus donated 31,000 bricks that we're currently selling at $100 each to have your family, your business, a loved one engraved on the bricks. So this is an example of some of the people that have purchased engraved bricks. They're on the windowsills in this room and currently on the floor here. So you can go to our Facebook page, Bethel Park Historical Society, and there's a form there under the Pave the Way campaign to download a form should you be interested in participating in this program. Eventually, what these are going to be used for will be to repave the Governor's Drive out front, and we can talk about that a little later on in the show. So I just wanted to give a huge thank you to RI Lampus for its incredible generosity of donating 31,000 brick pavers. These pavers will be utilized in redoing our Governor's Drive. And as you can see over my shoulder, it'll be done in a herringbone pattern. But off the front steps, we'll be putting all the engraved brick pavers for people who have also donated monies to have their loved ones memorialized. So I just wanted to sort of update everyone on their generosity on the window campaign. As you know, last year we were fortunate in that the Metropolitan Windows replaced 107 windows in the building, and that was all provided through the generosity of individual families and local businesses donating $500 for the sponsorship of each window. So part of your sponsorship was to have a plaque engraved and placed on the windowsill of each window designating your generosity. So we were fortunate in that David Minch, who's the principal of Independence Middle School, offered to make the plaques by utilizing the services of the 7th and 8th graders at the school last year. So I just wanted these are all the plaques. We haven't put them on the windowsill as of yet because we're still renovating some of the rooms. We don't want any of the plaques to get damaged, so we'll put those on once we've completed all the rooms at some point in the near future. But the plaques are on display, so people are more than welcome to come in and find their name or their class. And so we'll just, you can find your name in the plaques right now. So exciting things are continuing to happen at the Bethel Park Historical Society. Over my right shoulder, you'll see a locked door. And I want to, in a show that will be coming up in probably the next month, there's a young couple, Matt and Julie Costco. They have rented out this space. They're going to open up a new business, which is going to be to the betterment of the community, and we hope that you patronize their space. But we're going to do a big reveal on a later show and talk to Matt and Julie and learn about what they're going to do behind this door. So I'm pleased to be in the Military Museum of the Bethel Park Historical Society. Formerly the principal's office of the old schoolhouse, this room is now dedicated to local veterans who served in any branch of the military. And as you can see, we're quite fortunate that many people have generously donated their fathers, their mothers, their grandfathers, their grandmothers' uniforms back to form this collection. So our earliest piece is a Civil War bugle, and we range through World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Unfortunately, we keep having conflicts and building our collection. But as you can see, we've got an amazing room filled with treasured items. One of the things we want to highlight, over my shoulder you can see this tanker. This is Lisa Schmidt Jenkins' father's tank, and she very generously donated her father's uniform. He served in Korea. We actually have his Purple Heart citation and his Purple Heart, and this is his uniform in the background. In addition, we have a woman. She happens to be my mom's cousin. She's a retired lieutenant colonel. She was in the U.S. Air Force. She was an Army nurse. So the white uniform over my shoulder is hers, as is this blue uniform here. But we also have her Bronze Star. Another interesting story, the Hoff family and the Lime Pencil family. We have a woman who actually resides in Virginia, Betty Miller, and her family generously donated a World War I uniform, which was Elmer Henry Hoff Sr.'s uniform, and his son's uniform from World War II, Elmer Henry Hoff Jr. And interestingly enough, these uniforms were scattered throughout the country. They recently made their way back to Park Avenue, and the Hoff family actually lived 3 doors down from the schoolhouse. So we're fortunate that we have a father-son World War I, World War II uniform. In addition, you can see all this beautiful collection of World War II pillow slips that the boys would send back home to their family as souvenirs. They actually should be stuffed with pillows, but we hung them on the wall to display the various Army installations. So one of the things that we would like to ask is if any resident would like to contribute to this museum, we would be more than happy to accept your donations. Furthermore, if you'd like to donate a uniform, we can either display it on our rack here, or for $70, we could purchase a mannequin and have the uniform displayed on a mannequin, which makes for a much better display.
Goodbye, dear, I'll be back in a year, 'cause I'm in the Army now.
Okay, so the Historical Society not only wanted to recognize the dedicated service of its veterans, but also the dedicated service of the volunteer fire department and the police department. So we're fortunate in that we have a uniform from the volunteer fire department and also a 1950s era uniform from the police department. Below these two uniforms is a showcase of 1930s and 1940s radios. Eventually, our goal is to see if actually one will be able to work. So if anybody out there is an avid radio repairman and would like to give it a whirl and test the tubes, we'd be more than happy to have you work on one. Yesterday was Christmas at the Bethel Park Historical Society, and what I mean by that, we got this incredible donation of 2 crates and a pallet from British Columbia. And it's filled with history of Bethel Park. And the question is, what has Bethel Park and British Columbia have to do with one another? Well, it all started about 6 months ago when I got an email on from our email account, Bethel Park Historical Society, bp@gmail.com, from a woman saying that her husband had passed away and he was the grandson of Ira James Smith and Bessie Holtz Smith. And Ira was born in 1879 and died in 1964. He and his wife were residents of Bethel Park, and they are actually buried in the Bethel Park Cemetery. Well, bringing it forward, Charna Maffei is the woman's name, and she said that she did not want to lose this collection, just throw it away. There wasn't anyone in the family who wanted it. So she had reached out to the Bethel Park Historical Society, to the Heinz History Center, and one other entity, seeing if there would be any interest, if any of those organizations would like the collection in its entirety. So of course I jumped on the bandwagon, and through many months of going back and forth, the Historical Society was given the opportunity to receive the collection. And for the generosity of Charna and the gentleman's first wife, Deborah Arnold, they graciously paid for the shipping for this collection to come back to Bethel Park. So yesterday the crates and pallet arrived. We spent last night unpacking everything, and it's an amazing collection. There are about 30 paintings. Ira was an accomplished painter. He also made violins, so one of his violins has returned home. Also, were about 37 scrapbooks filled with images from Bethel and from Pittsburgh. Ira was a photojournalist, and he not only worked for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, but for many of its predecessors on the Pittsburgh Daily newspapers. So over my right shoulder are boxes filled with about 1,000 glass plate negatives of images from Bethel and Pittsburgh. Also included were genealogies of the Holtz and Smith families, and also correspondence dating from the late 1800s all the way up through 1964. So it's a veritable time capsule. We are so grateful to Charna and to Deborah for donating this collection back to Bethel Park. We're going to be working with not only the Heinz History Center to sort of catalog all of these glass plate negatives, but also with our local chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Bethel Fife and Drum, to go through all the correspondence, through all of the genealogy, to see what is here, what we can share with the community. Also, Christine McIntosh, the executive director of the Bethel Park Library, she is so excited to get her hands on this collection also, because it's a goal of the library and also the Historical Society to digitize all of our documents, so they will be accessible not only to the Bethel residents who live nearby, but for those residents who have moved to other states in the United States and across the country and across the world. So look forward to having those collections online also. We've got a self-portrait of Ira, as I said, many of his paintings, one of his violins. So we'll just take a glance at some of the collection. So we're standing in the Coal Miners Museum, and the renovations of this little room was sponsored by the family of Eileen Mercer Ursini and Stephen Ursini, longtime residents of Coverdale. So in this room will be our collection honoring both the Molinar miners and the Coverdale miners. But right to my left is the eagle that used to sit on top of the flagpole at Logan Elementary School. So when the school was recently demolished, we were able to get the eagle, and we had a plinth made for it, so it's now permanently displayed at the Bethel Park Historical Society. So in closing, I just want to thank everybody for taking this tour, seeing all the updates that we've accomplished over the past several months. As you now can see, the reason why we haven't done a show recently is because we've been busy working on these renovations. So again, we welcome anyone to come in and help out. We have a Facebook page as a Bethel Park Historical Society. Please go on and like the page, keep track of all of our progress and our upcoming events. We have another, what we call our second annual grand opening, basically an open house on October 14th where people can come in. We're going to have a few surprises, a few guest speakers. We'll have a Chinese auction. You can win your hand at a Pittsburgh Penguins basket, at a Steelers basket, and several other wonderful Chinese auction baskets that local businesses have donated. So come in, see all the renovations in person. On October 22nd, mark your calendars, we're going to be doing a Halloween Fall Festival. And look for details. Basically, we're going to have a Halloween parade for the kids, and I think we're going to have some fun and entertainment in the evening for the adults. On November 11th, the municipal building does a wonderful ceremony to honor the veterans. This year is kind of special because it's the centennial of the end of World War I. So we, in conjunction with the Bethel Fife and Drum, are going to be hosting a reception after the 11 o'clock ceremonies at the municipal building. So please attend those ceremonies. Come over for some coffee and some donuts. See the military museum and see all the changes that have been made. And lastly, for those of you who participated in our first Breakfast with Santa, Santa and Mrs. Claus are coming back again. They've said that they would be here on December 8th. Vic Fortunato and his catering company, they did the breakfast last year. Again, they have donated their services to do Breakfast with Santa. So we're limited as to the number of kids that are able to attend, so please look for the announcement when tickets go on sale for that. So we look forward to seeing you in the building in the future. Stay tuned for additional shows and more recent updates. And again, if anybody would like to contribute in any way, we greatly appreciate the support of the community. So thank you very much, and until our next show.